Hello, friends. This is very interesting because the soldiers of the 123rd Territorial Defense Brigade of Ukraine carried out on July 13th the first amphibious assault combat mission, executed entirely by drones. In this case, an unmanned surface vessel transported a ground drone armed with a heavy machine gun across the Black Sea. It landed in territory occupied by Russia on the Kimberl Isthmus. It let the robotic system complete a combat mission without risking Ukrainian personnel. The operation was carried out by the operators of the Unmanned Systems Battalion of the brigade, called Terror from the Skies, who used a naval drone as a robotic landing craft, which transported the raider into enemy territory. After landing, the ground vehicle moved on its own to an invader observation post on the Kimberl Isthmus, which it attacked with its main weapon. It is a sandbar 40 kilometers long that narrows to just 90 meters at its end. It is covered with pine and oak forests and is part of a biosphere reserve. In addition, it has immense strategic value as it protects the entrance to the estuary of the Dnipro and Bug rivers, controlling access to the ports of Mykolaiv and Kherson. Russian forces have occupied it since 2022, using it as a base to fire artillery, launch drones, and install various types of reconnaissance sensors. The traditional amphibious assaults attempted by Ukrainian forces have been extremely costly, exposing Ukrainian Marines and commandos to mines, artillery, and direct fire during the most vulnerable phase of the landing. In contrast, this mission demonstrated a fully robotic solution. The maritime drone approached the shore, lowered a ramp, allowing the unmanned ground assault robot, which was equipped with a remotely controlled weapon station. Wally 12.7, developed by the company Depdroid, advanced inland and opened fire on an invader position. This operation represents a significant evolution, as naval drones can now also be used to transport and land heavy ground equipment. This is an extension of combined arms tactics, now integrating naval, aerial, and ground vehicles, which allows Ukrainian forces to scout, harass, or take the initiative beyond the coastline, keeping humans out of the line of fire. Amphibious operations have long been among the riskiest in warfare. The deployment of disposable remotely controlled machines on hostile shores drastically changes the landscape. Since now machines can take losses, operate in mined or heavily defended areas, and create opportunities for the subsequent deployment of additional human or robotic forces. We continue on the naval front, where attacks against the Russian fleet in the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea. It is already turning into one of the worst naval disasters for the Russians since the Battle of Tsushima, when the Russian Baltic fleet sailed around the world only to be destroyed by the Japanese Navy, another special military operation that unfortunately ended up sinking in the sea. Without a doubt. Starting from the night of July 15th. On the night of July 15th, Ukrainian attack drones inaugurated a new phase in the Black Sea, attacking no less than 20 ships in a single raid. According to a detailed report, out of these, 17 were oil tankers, 2 were gas transport tankers, and 1 was a tugboat. Several units took part in the operation, including the Kairos Battalion of the 414th Magyar Birds Brigade and the 415th Raid Regiment. Commander Robert Brovdy described the action in the Black Sea as a match they won 20-0, which also coincided with Ukraine's Independence Day. Alongside the air campaign, the Security Service of Ukraine and the Navy launched a flotilla of raiders, including the new Mime-type naval drones, which carried out several attacks against Russian supertankers. In the footage, you can see how the Ukrainian drones approach their targets to disable their steering systems and engine rooms through explosions that are clearly recorded by other vessels in the flotilla. Meanwhile, Russian fighter bombers desperately tried to intercept them with cannon fire, missiles, and bombs, but without much success. Among the targets was the Luis I, also known as Lady Louise, which is a supertanker with an approximate displacement of 159,000 tons. And it is sanctioned by Ukraine for transporting millions of tons of Russian Urals crude from ports like UST, Luga, and Novorossiysk, using tricks such as deactivation, the fighter bombers of aviation, success, cannons, bombs. Another ship hit was the Vanda, which is also a large tonnage vessel. These incidents represent a shift in focus by the Ukrainians toward higher value targets, which are capable of transporting significantly larger volumes of oil. Russia has relied heavily on its shadow fleet to maintain the oil revenues that fund its war effort and to supply fuel to Crimea. The smaller tankers in the Sea of Azov, which usually displace about 7,000 tons, act as feeders, transporting petroleum products to the peninsula through the Kerch Strait, and also to transfer their cargo offshore to the sanctioned supertankers, which then transport the product to its destination. By systematically attacking these vessels with long-range aerial drones and naval drones, Ukraine has created an open hunting ground that forces Russia to stop or reduce the transit of its ships through strategic points. On July 16th, Robert Magyar Brovdy reported that Ukrainian forces attacked at least 11 Russian vessels, including 5 oil tankers in the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, a gas tanker, 3 dry cargo ships, and 2 tugboats, bringing the total number of vessels attacked in July to 147. But that's not all, because on July 17th, Ukrainian forces, once again led by the 414th Brigade, launched another assault against Russian vessels in the Black Sea, hitting 12 additional ships, including 9 cargo ships, 1 oil tanker, 1 gas carrier, and 1 tugboat. This remarkable single-night operation brings the cumulative total of Operation Molochka, or Bird's Milk, to 159 vessels attacked in just 12 days since its start, around July 6th. Of these, 117 vessels were attacked in the Sea of Azov, and another 42 in the Black Sea. Operation Molochka represents a deliberate expansion into the Black Sea from the Sea of Azov, where, according to reports, the intense attacks completely disrupted traffic through the Don Canal and the Kerch Strait, in addition to drastically reducing unloading operations at the ports of occupied Crimea. This is quite logical, considering that now the Ukrainian drones roaming the Sea of Azov no longer have any targets to engage. It is notable, however, the environmental restraint shown by the defenders, who have made an effort not to create holes in the hulls of the attacked ships. This is a remarkable feature of this campaign and seems to indicate the intention to limit the ecological impact in these sensitive maritime areas. Where the defenders showed no environmental restraint was in the raid they carried out against the main distribution center of the company Wildberries in the Moscow region and in the Tambov Oblast. This company is the Blyat equivalent of Amazon, so it's quite important for the average Russian. In the footage, we see how Ivan's orders are consumed by intense flames, leaving a column of black smoke rising from the warehouses in the Elektrostal Industrial Park, about 50 kilometers east of the Kremlin. These facilities are one of the largest logistics centers for Wildberries, as they handle around 10% of the company's national turnover. In the Tambov Oblast, another Wildberries logistics center was also hit, causing a large fire where 7 night shift workers lost their lives and 24 were injured. These attacks directly affect the quality of life of ordinary Russians. I mean those who are not invading yet, making their lives a little more miserable than they already were. These facilities are managed. It is worth noting that on July 7th, Wildberries updated its service agreements to exclude any compensation for goods damaged or lost due to artillery, drone, and missile attacks, claiming force majeure. That's what you call having good timing.
For those who want to see additional content, we invite you to subscribe to our Patreon, where for just $1, you'll have access to uncensored war videos. Visit our store and discover items from Ukraine's distinguished units. Each purchase directly supports United 24, contributing to reconstruction, civil aid, and defense.
Don't forget to leave a
like and subscribe to the channel.